So I've drawn my self-portrait, and I'm ready to go on to the next step. But now, I have to figure out what I'm going to do with all these grid lines. Obviously, I don't want these in my final drawing, and especially when I start shading in. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to go back and erase. So I'm going to go back and erase my grid lines real quick. If you drew your grid lines super dark, you might have to go over them a second time. But this is why we emphasize drawing lightly at the beginning. As you see, I drew in all the details of my shirt. Didn't focus too much on individual strands of my hair, just because I know that's going to be mostly value that I put in. So I'll leave that for when I'm doing that. I'm also going to make sure I erase all these numbers. If I accidentally erase some of the details, that's okay, because I can always go back in and draw them back in. I'm not too worried about it. I totally forgot a line here. So I'm just going to move quick, draw that back in. This photo is like 3 years old. So it was back when I had slightly more like floopy hair. I still like it, it's a good photo. For these really tiny areas, like inside my eyes and such, I'll probably just use the eraser on my pencil. Just because I have more control over it that way. But for big areas like out here, I'm not going to worry too much about that. Now for lines like right here inside my glasses where I drew that crosshair, I'm probably just going to leave that there because when I shade it in, it's going to be hidden anyway. So that one I don't mind leaving in too much. So even though erasing might take a little bit long, it's worth it. Because otherwise, if I were to start shading this in, I'd still have to go back and erase my grid lines, especially in areas that are really, really light. And then I'd end up having to actually go back and reshade in those areas because it's going to leave a ghost shadow behind. And it's actually a little bit harder to do that, especially if you've already shaded it in, because now you have to go back and reshade it and try and match that value. And hey, why do the work twice when you can just do it right first time? So now thinking about it, I probably should have saved these because I'm going to need them for what I'm going to do in my background. So when you're erasing your grid lines, don't erase all your background squares because you're going to need those for when you're doing your background pattern. I'm just going to redefine that edge right here. Need to find some of these edges that we lost. So yeah, if you drew your lines lightly enough, it should be pretty easy to erase your lines to the point where you don't actually see them anymore. So if your lines, if you're erasing them and they're not coming off this easily, that means you probably drew a little bit too dark. Now it's a scribble, so I'm just going to erase the scribbles because there's actually some shading happening there. I'm just going to do a shading effect. Probably redraw that later. Fun fact, this photo was taken back when I was in college. So this is back when Miss Sanders was learning how to be a teacher. I think I may have taken this like when I was right about to go into my first classroom because I was observing one of my old high school teachers. And so I had taken a selfie to like celebrate the day. So now I'm going back in, I'm just redefining some of these edges where I may have lost some detail. Just darkening some of my lines up real quick. I know detail in my shirt's pretty dark here, so that's why I don't mind I make my lines a little bit darker than I probably would. I know there's a shadow right here. Let's see. Yep. So what I'm going to do before I start shading in my background and talking about how I'm going to do the background pieces, I'm going to talk about what you're going to do in your actual photo. So we've been looking at patterns, and I had you guys different types of patterns and different types of values for your value, and your facial features pretest. So that's going to come in handy now, because now what you're going to do is you're going to go on and start shading in your shadows. So what I'm going to have my photo next to me while I'm working. I'm going to try and mimic the values I see here in my drawing. So if I see that it's really light here, like it is here, then I'm going to try and mimic it as best I can, getting the shadows in as also as best I can. You should have at least 6 visible values from your lightest to your darkest. If you go darker and you end up having more than 6 values, awesome job. If you get a little bit under, I'm probably going to have you work back in. But areas like your hair or your face, you're probably going to have at least 3 different values in your hair, going from light, medium, dark. And then in your face, you're probably going to have at least 3 different light, medium, and dark lighter values. Because even though this is my face, right here, you can see if I hold the picture up close, between the highlight on my nose, the shadow here on the side of my nose, and the shadow on the side of my nostril, that's 3 different values. While if I look at my hair, I have at least 3 different values up here too. Because this part's really dark, this part's lighter, and this part over here is even lighter. And it gets to even lighter than that right beside it. So it should be pretty easy to capture all these values in your drawing. If you do have highlights in your glasses or anything, try and include those too. Those will be your light areas. The more details you add in, the better it's going to look, and the more points you can get on your project. Just keep in mind you are being graded for the accuracy to your photo, how well you use your grid, the amount of effort you put in. So it shouldn't be like a shade for 5 minutes and then turn in and say I'm done. Unless it looks exactly like your photo, then oh my gosh, why are you in my class? You should already be in art school. But yeah, just like that. I'm going to just start shading. Now this is a pretty dark value right here. But I can tell that this part right here, by the name tag, is actually a little bit darker than the area right here. So I'm going to try to keep that part just a little bit darker. And parts over here, I'm going to keep just a little bit lighter just by a hair. Now, easiest way to go from darker to lighter is, for one thing, try and stay within the same value range first. But also you can adjust how dark something is by using the side of your pencil. So I'm not drawing with the point of my pencil, I'm drawing with the side. And I'm also either increasing or decreasing my pressure as I go. That way, by pressing harder, I get a darker value. By pressing lighter, as you see right here with what I'm doing on my shirt, it's not as dark of a value. And even though it's still pretty light, I know it's not as white as paper, so there's going to be some pretty light values in there. And there's a shadow right here, it's pretty light. And one thing I'm also going to do, since I did outline kind of my shirt a little bit, I'm going to do my best to try and blend in that outline, so it doesn't look like I purposely outlined it. So I may have to go back and erase this outline a little bit. In fact, I am going to do that just a hair. Just that way it looks like I created the extra shadow, rather than just outlining it. Now this is just some rough shading for right now. I do have some blending stumps you can borrow, so you'll just need to check one out from me. Because of the nature of the shirt I'm wearing was a kind of like knit fabric, kind of like a sweater fabric in this photo, I know there's always going to be a little bit of blend between the two stripes. So that's why I'm just doing some light shading on the top and bottom. And now I know this next stripe is really, really dark, so I'm going to shade that in pretty dark. And move that up, that way you guys can see. So again, using the side of my pencil, just shading on in. Right up to where my other value is. Try to keep your pencil marks all going the same direction. You probably already see me doing that, because all my marks are going diagonally. That's going to help your marks look more cohesive and make them look like they're going together a little bit better. Now this comes to a little bit of a crisper edge, so I'm going to make sure I keep that edge nice and clean. You're probably going to have to get up to sharpen your pencil up while doing these darker values. Because if it truly is a super dark value, you're not going to want to see any of the paper hair coming through. That's going to be the easiest way to add in just more intensity or how strong your dark values are compared to others. It's how much of the paper you're letting through. So you can always see the difference in it right there. So I'm probably just going to do my first layer right now, and then I'll probably work back in and do some more shading off camera. So I'm going to go and pause on the shirt for right now. I'm going to focus more on the head. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. There we go. That way you guys can see a little bit easier. Now, when I am shading like parts of my nose, I know that this is all going to be shadow here for the most part, so I can see my photograph. So I'm just going to shade in lightly to reflect that area. Not worrying too much about how it's blending in, so I can always touch that up with a blending stump later. I know because it's going into my glasses, I'm probably going to have a little bit of a shadow there too. I might actually have extra shadows because of my glasses. Now underneath my cheekbone here, I know it's a lot lighter, so I'm going to make sure I'm lessening my pressure here, but make sure it's still nice and dark once I get to my nose. I know my glasses have a bit of a speckled pattern where it goes from light to dark almost immediately, so I make sure I keep that in mind when working with it. Right now I'm just focused mostly on getting those shadows put in. A little bit darker here. I know underneath my nose is where it's going to be a little bit darker. Try not to keep it too dark, because I probably already went a little bit too close up here on my nose. Let me go back and erase some. Because even though it has a shadow right here, it's not that dark of a shadow. There we go. And there's a dip right here. When you get to your lips, make sure you're shading across the shape of your lips. They do curve a bit, so try and follow that curve of your pencil. Remember, your upper lip is going to be darker than your lower lip, just because your lower lip catches more light. And the inside of your mouth is going to have some darker values in there, definitely. Again, just more shading down here. And switch out pencils. I don't have a sharpener over here handy. Which, as you can kind of see, the more values you add in, the better it looks. And of course, if you make your value too dark, you can always go back in and add in a little bit. Use your eraser a little bit to add in some more light. No worries there. And this part underneath your eyes is going to have quite a few shadows, but also quite a few highlights too. I remember this part's gonna look a little bit weird because I had that weird highlight in my photo. So that part's gonna be a little funky. But this fits look pretty normal. Make sure to get the highlights and lowlights. Make sure to capture the highlights in my glasses. So you can see where I'm adding the values is added another certain level of depth to your artwork. And again, if you have trouble getting your values the exact shade, you can always go back in and smudge. Now that doesn't mean like smudge your finger, use the blending stump, and that'll make it a lot easier to do so. Especially if you really want them to look smooth. So repeat using like tip of your pencil to the side of your pencil, and that'll help you get a whole range of values in your artwork. Yeah, that's basically the start off to what you're going to be doing for your values. When you get down to your neck, that's the last part I'm going to cover, and then it's all up to you guys. Until next video, I'll show you guys how to do the background part. So I'll go and stop there. And next video we'll show you how to do your backgrounds.